Equity's annual conference in the City of Derry, Northern Ireland. Are you ready to become an acclaimed equity travel agent? Hello Jacobatis, welcome. Thank you for joining me, moi, Nigel, Cecil, ably assisted, as I invariably am, by my very good friend Hilary. Thank you, Hilary. And of course, we always endeavour to respond to the comments, views, observations and questions sent in by you, our fair-minded and equitable friends. And thank you for hitting the subscribe button, because the other week we reached the magical figure of 100. Thank you to all of you. And Hilary's saying, now we mentioned that, as you did previously, though we're still hanging on there, Hilary. Whenever we say something that's positive, well, cancel culture within showbiz, someone might say, no, unsubscribe quick. Because that's why we endeavour to reflect your views, comments, observations and questions, because you're all connected with Equity. Equity, the trade union for professional actors, variety, entertainers and other creators across the United Kingdom. Well, to be fair, not all of you. Some of you are just interested in showbiz and other topics. And we put them forward on your behalf because, well, some are fearful of cancel culture that now seems to permeate throughout showbiz. So we don't mind at our age. Well, go ahead and cancel. We were cancelled years ago. So hopefully we get the message out, prompt a little bit of discussion, but put it in an equal and fair way. But we digress. Thank you, our 100 subscribers. But now, Equity. What about being an acclaimed equity travel agent? Well, later this year, the 10th to the 12th of May, wonderful, the annual conference is in the City of Derry in Northern Ireland. You know, it's wonderful. Whenever we've been to Northern Ireland, we've always been so welcome. Well, the Celebrity Club, Romano's, the Queen's Court at Bangor, the Northern Counties, Portrush. We've always been made so welcome that, you know, to those who are able to go, I'm sure you'll have a wonderful time. But some of you in Equity are planning ahead. You first of all said, Nigel, how do we get there? Well, you have to be proposed and nominated, we think, by a committee or a branch. And the deadline's coming up to do that. And then, well, presumably you'll say, well, you'll plan your own way there. And on the Equity website, it says you'll get all your expenses according to the policy. Now, we're not sure if it's true or not. We've been looking, haven't we? You have, Hilary. But someone said, well, if you're going to Northern Ireland now, there's been a sort of decision, an indication that, well, you know, zero, you know, that green tax and all that sort of thing. We've got to keep the CO2 emissions down, that where possible, well, catch the boat. Don't fly. What? We have to just wind the clock back a little, because years ago, when one of our friends was involved in Equity, and they were a typical working class background, I don't say that in any derogatory way, Hilary, we're just pointing out from the grassroots upwards, they went along to Brighton to the TUC, and they happened to say to Peter Pluvier, how as a trade union do we afford this hotel? Because they thought it was rather posh, rather expensive. And Peter Pluvier said, well, as a trade union, we are unique in many ways because we don't pay members, volunteers, for their time. Because how do you say a celebrity what their time is worth, or someone who's out of work? Because at any one time, 80% or more of Equity members are out of work. So what's their time worth compared with someone who's given their time because, well, they've taken a break from a film? So we've never paid for time. So because we never pay for time, and we've got such a diversity in backgrounds of those coming to volunteer for the union, we've always said that at the very least, you should be afforded, when you're doing your volunteer work on behalf of equity, facilities that are in no way less than what you enjoy at home. So at home, you'd have your bathroom, you'd have everything there. So away from home, you have to have at least the same facilities and travel in a style you would normally travel in. So we never really sort of look at the expenses in minutiae. If we paid for your time, then it would be a different matter. But now, of course, equity still don't pay for members' time. So when someone says, well, catch the boat, you planning ahead, said, Nigel, can you look at all the ways? So we did. We flashed them up on the screen to show we've done our research. You can go from Stansted, but by the time you add on all the additionals, if you want to take a bag, maybe you shouldn't take a bag. Maybe you want the cheapest seat. But there again, would some fly from Heathrow? Because from Heathrow, well, it's £200 odd. And then what about going, well, you could go from Fishguard across the other way. It's a shorter trip from there, but then you've got to get from Rosslare, is it, up to Belfast and then across to Londonderry. I mean, the City of Derry. What's going on? And what about if we go from Scotland? Well, Loganair have got flights from Scotland, but guess what? Those flights don't realistically fit in with the equity timetable. And if you're in the north of England, some would say, well, get the boat from Birkenhead, Liverpool. Guess what? If you do that, apart from the cost, okay, the cost comes a little bit cheaper. It's only like £200 or so, but you're travelling altogether for 16 hours. And on the way back, it's 16 hours and you'll be travelling overnight. And if you've got, well, the cheap seat, is it fair to say to someone, well, save equity money because the others will fly quickly out of Stansted, but you up in the north, well, catch the boat because, well, we're not paying for time, so you just give your time. And home from home, 18 hours, arriving at something early hours of the morning into Birkenhead, Liverpool, and saying, well, now get home from there. So it is possible to do the jiggery pokery and say, well, we'll go the night before and we'll do this and we'll do that. But should equity members have to do that? What if someone is, well, not able to use the tippy-tappy as much as anyone else? So there really is possibly a need for someone to be an acclaimed equity travel agent to make the facilities easy for members to get there. When we looked, some of the flights are already nearly booked up at the cheapest prices. Some said, we're not going Ryanair. Of course, we've flown Ryanair, but we've enjoyed it. But everybody has got different stories about every airline. It's one of those things, let's complain. It's jolly good to complain. So the complaint now, though it isn't a complaint really, it's what is equity able to do to facilitate members arranging easy travel in a style that they would think, well, that's all right. We're being looked after because we're giving our services for free and our time for free. And therefore, surely, as the saying goes, we shouldn't be expected to slum it to save equity a few quid, not least because a few years ago, the annual representative conference, as it was then, was £60,000. Most recent one, 145,000 or so. So how much money, how many thousands of pounds is it going to cost to hold that representative annual conference in Derry? You know, so there we are. Do you want to become an acclaimed equity travel agent? What do you think about expenses? Should equity now consider paying members for their time, which then in some ways makes everything equal? Having said this, some will say, well, because of the money now, equity won't really be able to afford to go out of London from the here on in. And as usual, as many grassroots members will say, it happens in London because those down in London want it to happen in London because it's convenient for them. But that's another topic. So please let us know what you think. What about travel within equity? What about expenses? What about paying for members' time to give that equality? Just a thought on behalf of our fair-minded and equitable friends. Please join us again, and please keep your comments coming in. And as everyone always says to everyone, equity. Bye for now and happy travels.